this is a tough one to me, and I'm going to side with the players on this one. The clay court season is just too long. Um, I have always, I'm going to say, not hated, but always disliked the tour and their long season. I feel like the tour is trying to sell every week with the same package, same top players, same playbook, right? At the end of the day, the players' pocketbooks are and careers are made off of the slams. And so let's face it, the 1000s, while they have a bigger purse and they're bigger and let's say more prestigious, aren't as protected as they should be. And the 500s, if they fall in the right week, actually have a little better of a turnout than the thousands. And if you play that second 1000 or the third 1000, you're liable to have pullouts, a spate of injuries, and the tournament poster may have 8 different players, of which of them may not be there.
Yeah.
So that's what you're running into. And I say shame on the tour for not recognizing this and making some changes. If in a perfect world, Alvin, there should be a 6 week build up. Now check me out here. 6 weeks. The first week goes out to the Futures and Challengers crew, Team Next Gen, the whole up and coming players, right?
Okay.
The other ones are not even called up. Y'all stay home, rest up, go spend time with fam, train, whatever you do, right? Week 5, we kind of start getting into a few more of the what we used to call the 250s, right? We starting to kind of ramp up into that level. Mind you, all of this needs to have some sort of quality slash pre-quality emphasis for the upcoming slam. That's the only draw. And now without them giving up their actual wild cards, right? Week 4 and out, we should now start to get our first real, right? Our first real 500 ish. And that should be more of okay, but it's a very small draw, and there should be 3 or 4 of them. And hey, they are in and out round of 16s. Boom. Everybody gets a little tennis. Let's kind of just let's get our playing in and let's be done. This is a 4-day event. It's a sprint. It's not a marathon. It's not a week. And then by week 2, week 1, you start getting into a 500 the week before. And then you, of course, get the quality / your EXO tournament the week before. And now the Australian, let's say, starts. Same thing for the clay. Now, can that happen? Probably not, because the tour's making too
Probably
much
not.
money
Probably
off
not.
all the other tournaments. But here's my problem, Albert. Here's the problem. If you did 6 weeks times 4, okay? 6 weeks times 4, you had 24 weeks, right? And then you did in the off time, you made like I'm gonna take a cue from the NBA here. And I'm not saying they're the most successful model, but you started doing something like the WNBA. You fill in another league, another tour in that time frame. Let Next Gen be its own tour, and they play during that time frame. These guys are young; they can play, they can do their thing. But don't let Novak have to play the same schedule as my
Yeah.
main man Yao Fonseca, right? There are 2 different ends of their careers, right? So between G League, which is its own league, let Next Gen be G League like, and let the rest of maybe a doubles tour. Maybe I know that's a bad word right now with doubles
Yeah.
having the
Yeah.
same numbers, but let the rest of the I'm going to call it the EXO kind of a tour. You know how the used to have the Stella Artois at before Wimbledon and whatnot. It was like almost like an exhibition
No,
tournament
you know, like
before
there's a Boodles event. Like it's
Boodles now, but it
the
used to be called
Boodles.
Stella
Yeah.
Artois right before
Okay. Yeah.
Wembley. It was a 4-person, semifinal and final. It was 2 or 3 days. Everybody got to see their top players play there at a grass court venue. And really what it was, Alvin, was for them to get a little feel of the grass without playing a full-on tournament. And so what I'm getting at, Alvin, is I just feel like the tour, and I'm not saying you have to have just one clay court season. Have that be
Well,
another clay court season.
I think you touched on something that is that is the actual problem is that we have multiple things happening in the same tour,
Yeah,
right?
all at
You've
once.
got you've got the big names, like on the
Yeah,
men's side you have the Sinners and the Djokovic's and the Alcarazes, and on the women's side you have the Igas and you have the Cocos and the Sabalenkas, who are the draws. Those are the people
yeah,
that the fans come out to see.
right.
This is why the
The
rights
household
holders
names.
the rights holders pay all the money to
Yep.
broadcast. Like
Yep.
these are the money
Yep.
makers, right? But then you have the other people, and they don't have to play every week to make a good living, right? They can play
Right.
13, 15 weeks a year and they're fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the rest of the people, though, the rest of the tour, those are the ones that are playing to make money. They're playing to make a
100%.
living. And
Yep.
they're like their needs are different, yet they're all the players are kind of funneled into the same, they're on the same track. Somehow they're on the same
Problem with
track.
it, Alvin, it doesn't work for the top. It doesn't work for the
Sure.
journeyman. So who's it working for? The tour, and which
Well,
is
I mean,
why it's a problem for
barely.
me.
Well, it's working for the tour because they get to play. They're playing defense, and this is like I don't want to go too far into it, but this is a lot of the conversation around like what the PTPA is talking about, right? Like why there are no other options for the players. Like they have all these really hard and fast rules for tournaments that they can play versus like other things that they can't do. Like if you're in an event, you can't go play an EXO if you lose early. Like it's like one of these there are some very, very weird, not weird, but they're very stringent rules around these things.
I would put
And
the early losers into another draw, and they would be forced to play because rankings and whatnot would have an effect. That's your week 5 and week 4 tournament. Those early losers would have to, and they are now the draw, whoever you are, would have to play those guys. And it's almost a penalty slash, you got to play extra because you didn't play so much. And let's face it, you didn't play so much, right? So you end up going into this kind of a recirculating consolation slash next week's main, but you're really consolation in the next 500 or 250 event. And I'm just saying something like that might have some real, it might lend itself to just bob and weave its way to getting the different players to play more tennis, which is ideal for the fans and the players. And it might just give you the name recognition that you might need for that next event. Otherwise, the same playbook, the same week. Come on, Alvin. At some point, 6 weeks, 7 weeks later, you heard it right here. I don't even know if Alcaraz is hurt. I'm glad he said he's hurt
right,
so that
yeah.
he pulled out because now he's got a chance to win the
Well,
French and not be dinged up.
when you see, I mean, then we look at it last year, right? He won the French. He didn't play any of these events, so like whatever. But like you started to see it. I think we might have talked about this a couple weeks ago, right after Barcelona. But like he wins Monte Carlo. He gets to the final of Barcelona, win or lose, whatever. He's still playing the same amount of matches at the end. It's like, okay, he's got two Masters 1000s before Roland Garros at that point. It's like, yeah, he can't play both of those. Like he can't play both of those. Like there's no reason, and not just him. Like it's the same thing with like Artur played all of them. Holger Rune played all of them.
Yep.
Holger lost
Still
early.
there.
Artur
Thank you. Both lost
lost
early.
relatively early. It's almost like it's like we were talking about peaking a little bit later, but like would the best way, like what is the best way to come into these events? Like how much warm up do you actually need? And I feel like, when you see the top players, like if you look at the US Open, and compare it to Roland Garros, right? Right before the U.S. Open, you have Cincinnati, and right before that, you have Montreal and Toronto, right?
Yep.
And generally, but right before that, you have Washington D.C., which is the 500. You don't really see a lot of players starting to show up. Like early would be D.C. Most of them show up in Canada. Like most of them show up and they're all in Canada, and then they're
Yep.
all in Cincinnati, and then it's go time. And that seems like the right amount of warm up. So if you use
Great.
the clay court example, it would be like basically nothing before Madrid matters, right? I mean, if you were playing well 6 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago in Monte Carlo, did that really help you in Paris in June?